environment, pollution, water, three issues which are not very close to the center of power, like separation of powers, but they're dealing with things which are very much known to constitutionalism, things like education and others. Environmental protection and blue economy. We are one of the most resourced environmental areas in the world. We have Kakamega Forest here, the DRC, the Congo Forest, Southern Sudan, it has a huge forest, Mapira also, forest in the Uganda and others. So we must protect. And then the waters, the blue economy. We have one of the largest lakes in the world. We have Lake Albert, Lake Edward, we have Lake Tanganyika. Malawi may also join us in the coming years. Then we shall have Lake Malawi. Then we have the Indian Ocean. So the East African community, the Indian Ocean, all the way from that place to the Atlantic in DRC. So we will be one of the strongest economies in the world outside the European Union. We must discuss issues of defense and security. I think I don't need to be leveled up. Infrastructure and transport development. Maybe you can have the East African Airways, all cascade to smaller airways, the railways, the entire gamut of the infrastructure. Very important. You remember the LAPSEC? We can start with very huge transport from maybe Lamu all the way to Matati, Southern Sudan on top, Burundi, even Tanzania. Then you must discuss the relationship of the Constitution of the East African Federation or Union vis-a-vis the municipal constitutions, because entirely they be tested in the courts by eminent judges, and it may stall the progress of step-by-step progression of the unity. Research and technology, and the issues, tourism, very important. How should the governing structure of the political federation be? My colleagues have suggested a presidency to be in charge of the federation. Myself also, I foresee a supranational presidency. Supranational, beyond the states, it's not national, beyond, so that they can be able to control all the activities of the community on a rotational basis. Very important, on a rotational basis. And then the rest, then they should rely on the commissions, the East African Court of Justice, the East African Parliament. Decision making to be done by the High Authority, which is the head of the supranational. I know we are talking of federation, but we must have a futuristic thinking. Decision will be made by the organs of the East African Federation of Community Organs, of the three organs of government, plus the three organs of government can be applied in a supranational institution. Then you may decide also on issues of laws made by the East African Parliament vis-a-vis the municipal laws, which comes before the other one. We call it primacy. Each one takes precedence of the other one. It may conflict, the citizen be tested in a court of law. The principle to govern our federation or confederation. Confederation is more like a Swiss, where the center is very weak, the regions are very strong. Who has heard about the Swiss president? Who knows? Because the regions are the cantons are very strong than the center. So we are interested in principle of autonomy, sovereignty of member states, specifically on constitutional matters. The principle of equality, sometimes they call it subsidiarity, very important. The principle of common purpose, there is also proportionality also, very paramount. The principle of indemnity. Principle of indemnity. We require also respect for human rights. Human rights and fundamental freedoms. I don't know where it emanates. For the European Union, it emanates from the European Court of Human Rights, of which we may know. Human rights are very important because a court of human rights, very important. A commission of human rights, very important. So that to protect the human rights and fundamental freedoms of the member state citizen. So the relationship between the various disparate states, separate states, different constitutions, we require representations in the multi of the East African Parliament, and the Russian membership subscribe to the authority. Then sovereignty, very important. That's why we took the autonomy, sovereignty. We have a very robust constitutions which talks of sovereignty. Then there is this creature, I'm not calling it a creature, the East African Union or Federation, trying to oversee, to superintend the national constitutions and sovereignty and integrity. So those are issues which are likely to be tested Italy. Greece was having also a problem. And they were able to dispatch a commissioner to become a prime minister so that they were able to sort out issues, stringent measures on matters economy were being taken to those weak countries. What will happen also with the weak member states? Kenya is so dominant on matters economy. Others are still by coldness. How to sort out as member states. And when DRC sneezes, does it also affect us in East Africa, in Kenya, or even Tanzania, where they're stable? Funding also may come from external or borrowing. And there's a danger there. We may market our countries, our federation, our political union to outsiders, and they'll be able to come and reap our resources. Remember, DRC Congo was a private enterprise of Leopold, king of Belgium. You are aware of that. And he militated that country for several years. And that's why DRC is unstable up to this time. Courtesy of a poor colonial master at that time. So sometimes we borrow, they may come for us if we don't repay. So we may revert to taxation. Referendum is very important when making decisions on constitutional matters. Plebiscite, very important. Universal suffrage when it comes to constitutional matters. Stakeholders, the first stakeholder is the citizens of member states. We have something called the public participation at the content of our constitution. and member states must be consulted from time to time. There are other laws which are supposed to be made. There are so many other laws, directives, issues, measures, rules that will be made by the organs of the East African community or federation or union. I prefer that you adopt the model of the European Union. Reason it is very successful. Somehow with the teething problems, it was started in 1950s with the 3 organs of the community. It has 27 member states. Britain pulled out because of its own reasons. One of them was parliamentary sovereignty. One was economic issues. It felt that it was very strong outside the European Union, and it was able to do business with other countries. Their pound was also very strong and stable. There was no need to join they negotiated out of the currency also. We may take our pound as the regional currency, that is the Kenyan shilling, because it is in the moment it is very strong. The European Parliament, we adopt the East African Council, call it the East African Parliament, then the East African Court of Justice, the East African Council, that is for the presidents, then the East African Court of Justice. You may create other institutions, like for the auditors, maybe for the research, then decide with the conflict of laws between the East African laws and municipal laws, decide on that, deal with constitutional issues, then decide on the location of the institution, the premier institution. One should be in, the parliament is in Arusha, maybe in Uganda we have another institution, like the Court of Justice. Then Dar es Salaam should have something down there in the model of the South African constitution where parliament is in Cape Town, the executive is in Pretoria, the judiciary is in Bloemfontein. We have a youth population also, second after the European Union. We have a very strong economy, we have resources. And people are also resources. We can do business. We can also deal with, negotiate with other countries. They want the resources from our place. And we can also negotiate with them if we are interested in their resources. So we can bargain as a community. Don't forget also the foreign affairs, very important. When it comes to foreign affairs business, it can be a commission of the East African Commission, very important. I rest my case there. I rest my submission. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my colleague. That is our humble report from our committee of experts. And I wish to say that he is available on our behalf anytime for any consultation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ruto. We appreciate that. I'm told that was a consolidation from all the counties. Yes, Chair, what we have just received is what has been consolidated from all the counties in Western. And because we do not want to lock anyone out, I'll like to take some few minutes to invite all the counties, county after county, so that if there is any other burning issue that may have been omitted, you may present it. Kakamega, I don't know whether you are ready. Yes.
The Honorable Committee of Experts and the former Chief Justice, and the Kenya's Attorney General, my brother-in-law, who has, in his presentation, left out a key component of his performance, which I wish, first of all, to remind him on behalf of Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology, with the authority from the Vice Chancellor, Professor Shivairu, who was not with us because he's out of the country, and the School of Center for Disaster Management and Humanitarian Assistance, the only one in East and Central Africa. And I would wish that you take time to visit the university before you leave this place, as you also visit the Prime Stone. We also have an airport, and we also have an international stadium, which will host Africa Cup of Nations 2017 by May, according to the President William Ruto, who is also the Chancellor of Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology. 2027 by March, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania have made a joint bid to co-host Africa Cup of Nations. That is a big way for East Africa in terms of integration and showing that we are becoming a power in terms of culture and social and soft power in Africa. I would wish, just in a sentence, to state it clearly that East African community, with the issue of the political federation, is a very critical one. Let the Parliament of EAC, let the Kenyan Parliament, the Senate, let all these other parliaments make an agreement that must have what we call political willpower. Without political willpower from the head of states of all those countries of East Africa, you are wasting time because of personal selfish interests of individual heads of states. Because me as an authority, somebody doing PhD, I would insist when I'll be meeting next week the president that he becomes the first president of the East African Federation, and he should be in office for at least 10 years because he's a young man and he's also highly educated and he's also God-fearing. So I would say Museveni can come later, but let Dr. William Ruto be the first one because he is the most educated. Not for me, he's the most educated president in Eastern Africa. I wish to say that critically important as a student of political science at PhD, Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology, as we wish to impress my professor whom I've met for the first time, I want to present your details to the Vice Chancellor so that you'll be one of us at the Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology in the school of the institute we are going to establish, the Institute for Sustainable Peace and Security. And this security is human security, it is international security, and it is also national security. We are facing a lot of challenges that require a multifaceted approach for East African cooperation in matters of national, natural, and artificial disasters. For example, drought, the locust, Ebola, COVID-19, among others. We require preparedness. We require what we call the national capacity building strategy of the United Nations, of the Cameroon, which can be blended even with the Big Four agenda, and also looking at the Kenya's Vision 2030, among other that we have within the other East African cooperation countries. Kenya requires, Uganda requires, these other countries. No country is an island. East Africa is also not an island when it comes to matters of world affairs. I am talking as an expert in foreign policy analysis, human security strategies, and leading one in Africa. One of those that Africa should produce and be proud of. To sum up, I wanted to say that the Kenya's former Attorney General, my brother-in-law, one of the areas that he did well and he did badly is to ensure that Kenya is signatory to the Rome Statutes. You must apologize. Kenya should not be signatory to the Rome Statutes. East African countries should withdraw and should not be members of the Rome Statutes. We should have homegrown solutions. We mitigate our issues in East Africa. We should reject globalization. We should trade among ourselves. We should only accept those who come from outside East Africa to do trade with us, and we make sure we have an advantage. We should stop seeking foreign aid. We must have internal mechanisms to develop our African economies. The Big Four agenda of President Uhuru was a good one before we got into the so-called handshake. Kenya and these other African countries need to benchmark in a manner that is local. For example, issues of drug trafficking, issues of human security under the drug trafficking, matters to do with human trafficking, which are a threat to peace, sustainable peace and security of the region, should be addressed jointly in a manner that engages what you call the political economy theory. I will only elaborate when I am allowed and paid as a consultant for the East African community, where they will pay me handsomely so that I can also fight alcohol, drug abuse, murder, so that all and majority of the people in East Africa should avoid hell and be in paradise. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ustaz Shivaji Hamis, PhD student, Masina Blue University of Science and Technology.
Thank you so much.
A senior principal.
Thank you so much, sir.
A senior principal. A senior principal. A senior principal.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Before I give a chance to the next presenter, I would like to invite you to restrict your discussion to the 9 issues. You have them in your folder. What should be the areas of the EAC political confederation? So please, kindly, in the interest of time, I'll give each one of you 2 minutes, and you make sure you restrict it to the very 9 issues. Thank you so much. Anybody from Bungoma County? Yes? Let's give a chance to
the rights of establishment and even residence without restriction. If really we believe in a confederation, then we must allow people to settle in any of those states. The other area is assist the members from the member states protect their legitimate social, economic, cultural, and other rights, so that at least the confederation can be seen to be doing its work. We also propose area of cooperation on regional security. Our borders are very porous, so we need some collaboration and networking and partnership on regional security, peace and stability. Kenya can never be stable if Uganda is not stable because of the porous borders. People commit mistakes here and rush to Uganda and to Tanzania. So we need to collaborate on area of security, peace and stability. The fourth area we have identified is foreign policy with other regional confederations. Yes, we have SADC, we have ECOWAS or ECOMO. We need also to have our own foreign policy of how we engage with that. What will be the mode of decision making by the confederation in terms of authority? Whatever decision must be arrived through a participatory and inclusive process. They must give dialogue, negotiation, mediation, and consensus building a chance. We also must base our decision on research and evidence, so that empirical evidence becomes the basis of making decisions, so that we don't rush to make political decisions which are not informed by evidence and facts. Then, whenever there is a confederation meeting, let's have the decision made by a simple majority of vote for the partners. If they cannot build consensus, they can do a simple majority vote. But again, more importantly, adherence to the rule of law and the due process set out in the East African Treaty and the United Constitution is mandatory, so that at least we are able to establish order in the confederation. The governing structures and funding of the confederation, of course, we already have existing structures like the summit, the Council of Ministers, coordinating committees, sectorial committees, the East African Court of Justice, the East African Legislative Assembly, and the Secretariat. In addition to this, we propose sector-specific commissions, like the Commission on Good Governance and Human Rights, Commission on Refugees and Migrations. Those are very important because people will be moving from one country to the other if they are affected by some form of injustice. In terms of governance principles that should be adopted and adhered to by the political confederation, the most important one is unity of purpose in diversity. We must accept that we are diverse politically, economically, religiously, socially. So that unity of purpose must be our building block. Partnership and networking is very key if the confederation is going to survive and operate. Impartiality. In the past, we used to have the bad boy of East Africa. I don't want to mention who was that. We want impartiality so that all the partner states are treated as equal partners, so that no one feels that he or she can dominate the other. Integrity, that you do the right thing even when other member states are not looking at you. That's a very important principle for us. All the member states must be accountable to the federation and to their own individual states. Accountability goes with transparency. Then the last of these principles is allegiance to the East African Treaty ideals. The East African Treaty has very good ideals, and we hope the constitution that is being manufactured or being formulated will also have the same good ideals. What should be the relationship between the partner states and the confederation authority? The partner states are now the ones forming the confederation. The states should recognize and respect the superior authority of the confederation on matters that affect interstate relations and conflict whenever they occur. Because if they are fighting among states or conflict, then the superior authority is the political confederation. So that should be there. It means they have to renege some of their rights to allow the confederation to intervene. In terms of funding, we propose two trajectory. One, we should have membership subscription. Each member state must be committed to produce or submit some amount, which should be agreed through either the council or the summit or through any other forum that is consultative. Then they can also establish a special fund just to run this. This fund can attract donations, can attract grants, it can be like a trust which can also contribute funds and other materials or resources for running the confederation of how the constitution of this particular confederation should be adopted. We propose two ways. One, through ratification and signing by all the partner states. If they don't sign, it means they have not accepted to work under the confederation. So each member state should voluntarily sign the confederation constitution, of course, through the organs that are established. But the minimum threshold should be 2/3 majority rule, whereby if there are 13, then it means majority must prevail. If there are 9, majority must prevail. So we need to use the 2/3 majority rule. What are our recommendations on the recent constitution confederation? In terms of constitution, we are saying there should be a powerful executive and a powerful judicial chapter of the confederation to effectively implement the mandate and functions of the confederation authority. We have learned from other confederations, if we have a weak executive or secretariat and a weak judicial organ, it becomes a talking shop. So we need to be able to have some mechanism that is strong in terms of executive and judicial authority. It should also have powers to regulate regional trade. In our region, we have trade imbalances, we have disparities in economy and trade and taxes. So we need to be able to have a leverage by the authority to regulate our trading practices. The constitution should also provide for some centralized leadership where the constitution allows the regional authority to enforce laws, policies, and also power to regulate trade and taxes. The East African Regional Court, as it is now, should be strengthened because it's very weak. Some of these decisions are not binding to the member states, so we need to make it more binding to the member states, especially on issues of common interest. Then there is also the central government authority of the confederation should rest with the powers donated by the member states, where they meet and address the needs of the group. However, we have the fear of domination, which must be addressed. Politically, we have suspicion and mistrust in the East African region. Our behavior are not harmonized. We don't have a common value system. We don't have a common political socialization. So we have the fear of domination by some aggressive member states. So we must provide equal voting rights and the veto power on decisions that may not be favorable to their respective states. So that each state should have one vote, not more than one vote. It doesn't matter whether you are small or big. So we also need an elaborate and impartial mechanism for interstate dispute resolution. Without a dispute resolution, we'll still get in trouble. So the Constitution must provide for that. Representation from the partner states should have a term limit, and we are proposing at least 3 years. We don't want to go beyond 3 years for any representative from any government. Reason being that we want to avoid formation of political elites or groups and syndicates. Because when people stay in a particular position for long, they now become very powerful and usurp the power of the confederation. Then we should also be worried that we should not establish a loose union as it was in the Canada or in the United States. The regional government must have some way to discipline members who disobey the treaty ideals and also the constitution. So it should also have some power to contain and to check and balance the member states. And that means powers for the common good of the federation. The regional body, which we are calling the legislative body under the constitution, should have the capacity to make decisions on behalf of the states and also authority to execute those decisions. The constitution should also provide authority to control interstate commerce. There's likelihood of economic instability and confusion if that is not controlled. Without that capacity, we may not be able to create, nurture, and sustain a stable political economy for the region. Then, as I almost finished, the constitution should also have the authority to manage the currency. I saw somewhere in one of the write-ups that we're going to have a single currency for East Africa. It's a good, noble invention, but it's not realistic at the moment because our currencies have undergone a lot of fluctuation and challenges, depreciation and all that. It will require more extra effort, but it cannot be done in a single year 2024. But it's always good not to be prophets of doom. Let's look forward for that. Political federation should not design a weak, and I repeat, a weak confederation authority. With that will just be a talking shop. It will not have the capacity to implement anything. We also need to have a religious body or commission that should act as an arbiter or the mediator for the region whenever there are disagreements or disputes for this region. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that submission. We have someone from the legal community. Are you here? Yes. Karibu. We still have some 30 minutes, so maybe 10 minutes will be enough for you.
Good morning. My name is John Paul Nyawad, National Council of Persons with Disabilities, a state corporation spearheading issues on disability in the country. So my submission is titled to areas number 8 and number 9. So other issues I would like to propose is on the matters upholding the rights and the representation of PWDs in the EAC affairs, which is very key for the purpose of inclusivity and growth for the member states. This should be captured on the conditions to become a member of EAC representation. Another factor is there should be a deliberate effort to mainstream EAC affairs and function centered on disability related issues in terms of how we come up with matters of all people in the EAC member states as we streamline the political, the social, economic affairs. This will bring a broader picture for member states and so that we feel within the member state, that inclusivity is capturing on key areas so that no one is left behind. Thank you.
Asante sana. Vihiga. Busia, are you here? Please, take the floor. Okay, Kakamega, I'm coming back to you. I still have your 10 minutes. Yeah.
Thank you so much. My name is Mary Nakoha. I come from Busia and I work in the NGO sector. And I'm happy to see Honorable Amos Wako, my county commissioner. All protocol observed. I've said I work in the NGO sector, and I'm going to, as a mother also and a woman, I'm going to look at somehow the nitty-gritty things that sometimes men fail to see. For the East African Community Political Confederation to work well, I think education is a very important sector. And as it is now, I think we have very different curriculum. In Kenya, we have the CBC. In Uganda, we have Form 5 and 6. In Tanzania, I don't even know. We've had people here saying they went to University of Dar es Salaam, they went to University of Makerere and all that. Can that work as it is now? So I think we need to look at education and ensure that we have a curriculum that can work for the East African community. Secondly, I want to talk about security. There is a lot of issues with security. Being from Busia, I can talk mainly from Kenya and Uganda, and I'm sure it is also happening between Kenya and Tanzania and Uganda and Tanzania, that so many criminals, people will do something bad in Kenya and run to Uganda, or do something bad in Uganda and run to Kenya. We need to have a strong agreement as East Africa, where these people can easily be brought back, or this person can even be tried where he has run to, just get them arrested. I say like that because I work to protect little children and women, and we have so many people who have defiled little children and have run to Uganda. They have run to Tanzania, and they deny the victims justice. On trade, I want to suggest that we need to have a free trade. I have seen so many times, like fishermen in Lake Victoria, being arrested on the Ugandan side, being tortured. I think if we are to be a real East African Community Confederation, this should stop. We should share resources and work together freely. I also want to talk about human trafficking across the border. That we have so many girls being trafficked, especially from Uganda through Kenya to Mombasa, into the tourism and sexual exploitation. If we were vigilant as East Africa, if Tanzania was vigilant at the border, Kenya, like all of us, I don't think this should be happening. We should be able to stop trafficking of human trafficking, especially girls and children, and also people coming to do cheap labor, herdsmen, and all that. Sometimes they come, they commit offenses and run back, and this should not be there. We should have a way, like we should have a law on domestic labor. If somebody is to come from Uganda to work in legal, they should be legally in this country. I also want to talk about intermarriage, because especially I've seen Kenyan men like Ugandan women so much. And I want to say that if a woman gets married, or even a man, if you get married, like say from Rwanda or what, you are supposed to be given citizenship. You are supposed to be given an ID. You are supposed to vote in the country where you are married. Otherwise, the way it is now, you get married maybe from Rwanda or what, and you come to Kenya, and you just remain that Rwandese woman. You just remain that Ugandan woman. You know, you don't have any status. You don't have anything. Like, where do you belong? I think this should be looked into. Even if I decide to marry a Ugandan man and he wants to live with me in Kenya, then he should become a Kenyan. Yes, as a citizen, if we have decided to live in Kenya. And then I want to talk about political disputes. That the East African Confederation needs to establish an East African Supreme Court, so that in the event, especially for political issues, so that in the event that there is no dispute, that there is a dispute, say maybe there is an election and there is a dispute, and like the Supreme Court in Kenya kind of makes a decision and it's not agreed on, then we should have an East African court, judiciary, where this matter can be solved. Thank you very much.
Asante sana madam. Tanzania hivi hapana. I'm here. Not yet. Let's receive views from Kakamega this time. Karibu.
I'm not here to stay for very long, but I know that I'm going to say something. I just want to clarify maybe the two. Number one is I know we have mentioned something to do with religious, and I want just to make sure that it is clarified. Unfortunately, this forum has come when the Kenya is experiencing Shakahola. And because of that, it opens our eyes onto this forum to look forward for the future, that we need to harmonize. We need to harmonize the religious commission of East Africa, if possible. We need to work together, and if possible, we get its own commission. I know we're calling it regulation, but let's have a good word of harmonization, to harmonize religious, all the groups that form the interfaith. If we can actually bring it across to the East Africa. Also, its funding. And also its teaching, because Shakahola has come because of lack of teaching. If we can harmonize what is taught here in Kenya, what is taught in East Africa and other countries, you say the interreligious group is able to harmonize every teaching and every group that comes. We usually relate. Ugandans come to preach here. We go preach in Congo. We have preachers here in Tanzania, and we need to harmonize all those so that when they come here, we know each other. It's something to do with also marriage certificate. We could also have East Africa marriage certificate, as my sister has said, that we are going to start marrying each other from across. And so we can have something strong on that marriage certificate. I have not had, maybe here, but food security. If we can include food security and also land issue. Land issue, because Tomorrow, I might want to buy land in Congo, like in Congo, and I want maybe to have 2 homes that someone has said. So we should have a freedom of where to stay. I can decide to stay in Congo. Uganda here, they want us to go and buy land there. So there should be something to do with land. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to all of you. There's a burning issue, someone please, in a short while.
Fine, all protocols out. My name is Reverend Derek Ovire, Chairman EBK Interfaith Network. I just wanted to make an emphasis on a few things that maybe, especially Professor. You quoted about you and Kitui. You quoted about Makalele. And another chairman said, I don't know the chairman said the boundaries and then there is laws, they can become a problem. Maybe like you quoted about the Kube. I wanted to do this. Let us standardize this education so that any grade 3 child from here can go Uganda and learn the job. That is not there because the system is kind of confused so much. I can walk to Uganda and the child continues without being told where we find he got this. So this one, if they standardize it to us, it will be okay. Vihiga, where I come from, environment, it's a very small land. Maybe if we can try to bring back the glory of the Maragoli Hills, it can help us when tourists come there to forest. You can give to our young people maybe kind of job creation, employment, because it's so small. And that place is, and you know, if we can make the weaker country, maybe that Maragoli Hills, the water that is there, and the good things that will come out of that can even also benefit the whole of East Africa community. So I will urge you that can you go specify, especially places like in Vihiga. We have a very small land. What we have is stones. These granaries, why can't we come up as East African community and come up with a very good factory and put in Vihiga so that we can also get job opportunities? I want maybe to just enter by saying this trade. It is very hard to go to DRS Congo to process documents that even if you can go to America. It is just here. And we can sell our goods here other than taking them somewhere. So as we go, let us try to remove those other restrictions and barriers so that also Kenya can go outside and enjoy. Like if you come to footwears in Kenya, here in Vihiga, Kakamega, we get them from, you see boys from Rwanda, Burundi, they're selling freely, but when we want to go there, we find that kuingia kwetu ni ngumu. Why can't we make it very open so that as they enjoy, we also enjoy? And when it may be, I only emphasized on religious, the interfaith where we belong. Let there be experts who can study the law. I'm happy. We have our learned people like Honorable Wako and others who know to study the law. Some of us don't. There are so many gaps in the laws. Somebody comes a document I am having here. Where are you going to get funding of this? The gaps there may be speaking something else. That is why you see now they are getting money from the parts of people. Because that document was not studied well and it was registered like that. Let us have very good experts who can do that. Thing happened one time in Uganda. Nobody took interest of it. Now it is in Kenya. We don't know where next. Let us be vigilant and come up with a protective kind of mechanism to ensure that we don't have such a happening. Otherwise, East African community is good. I can remember East African Railway, East African what and what and what and what. Those things are where they. If we can bring them back and add value, revamp them actually, this community will become the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Before we conclude, I would like to invite the County Commissioner, Mr. Ruto, to briefly make a submission on the last item which has been the last item, the last issue, petitions. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to have invited me to the podium here. The members and participants, forming a supranational institution is extremely very complex. It requires political, constitutional, and legal stamina. It is something it cannot be done overnight. And it is a step-by-step process. It may take even 30 years, 50 years. The European Union started in 1950s, and it is still progressing up to this time. For now, it is almost stagnating. And when you look at the commission is the engine of the European Union. They are like ministries. If you look at the government, from Ministry of Education to Ministry of Energy, Technology, all those ministries are there, but they are calling them departments or agencies. They cover everything. The way I presented my recommendations is basically, the experts are aware. I was touching on those issues, but when the experts sit down, they'll be able to deal with this matter in detail with a tooth comb, with clinical precision or military precision. They are the drafters here, they're aware. They can know which one can be challenged in a court of law. So it is a very complex issue. It's like constitutional making to be tested outside. I was told to maybe come up with conditions, so for the purpose of the minutes on how a member state can join the confederation, the federation, the union. The first condition, it must be a stable democracy. You are aware what is a democracy? Elections must be held periodically, must have laws governing elections. It must be universal suffrage. There is that proportionality also in the election. And it must be open election. Held after 5 years, not extending that I'm extending 2 years. When somebody has reached a 5-year period, we extend the parliament, we extending the presidency. So it must be held periodically, and it must have what we call universal suffrage. Sometimes we talk of democracy and universal suffrage on paper, but in reality does not happen. Sometimes there is abracadabra. And the institutions also must be protected to conduct a free, fair, and transparent election across the East Africa. So the individual member state must abide by the tenets of democracy. Secondly, the rule of law. Even in Russia, there is a rule of law. But when you look at it, it is the flip side. It is on the other side of the coin. Another very important condition is that it must have a functioning market economy. You invite a country like Zimbabwe to become a member of the East African community, you have a problem. When the country carries money in sacks to buy a sack of maize. So you must have a functioning economy. Huh? Yes. It is more serious. It is better off now. Yeah, because you cannot sustain a federation, a union without, or even talk of a single currency, custom union, without a functioning economy. We talked about Jacoba. Jacoba is not a black market economy. The rule of law, very important. Constitutionalism on the rule of law. Tenets of the Constitution, specifically human rights and fundamental freedoms. There are so many. Little religion, the men of the clothes who are alluding to that. There is also the acceptance of all the obligations. Member states must accept the obligations of the community. All of the confederation must accept. It's like in a marriage vows. Are you getting it? It must be like that, and you must accept. And that member state must also accept the intents, the futuristic aspirations of the community, the confederation, futuristic. Hizi songa nikifika mbele anasema hapana, I'm treating like UK, including adoption of the laws. Laws are made. And I say the elephant in the room on any union is when you type the three branches of government or challenge it from another regional powerful body. Look at Brussels. Brussels controlling countries from that place. So that is where the elephant is. But on issues like energy, we don't have any problem. Health, religious issues, and maybe environmental protection, pollution, things like statistics, they don't have any problem. Member states do not have any problem. But when you take the presidency, you have a trouble there. So you know the drafters, they'll be able to know to go around that. Then there is the issue of single currency. The East African currency in the mold of the European Union currency, single currency, very important. In adherence to the laws or obligation, there are treaties also, conventions, and then international treaties ratified by the member states. The drafters, they'll be able to know how to go about it. Why it is important to have, that is accession, and accession should be very stringent. It should not be an open door policy, open sesame. It cannot open. Turkey was refused the accession to the European Union because it did not meet several conditions. And Turkey being an Islamic country also, maybe Muslims also are not, the professor reacted to me here, the principle. There was that fundamentalism being spread to the Western Europe. They got scared and they had to put a brake on accession of Turkey to the European Union. There were issues of democracy there, having problem in Turkey. Erdogan recent was more dictatorial. Although the economy is doing very well, the man is dictatorial, but he's facing an acid test on 14 this Sunday, trying to save his 20-year rule. So it is important that the union should bring continental or regional peace, very important, regional peace, and then freedom of its citizens. We also talk of freedom of movement from one place, freedom of persons, goods, and services. You are an expert in gold mining. You are free to move to DRC and do mining in that place after a respected concession, maybe treaties. You are expected to work can start in any of the countries. University of Lubumbashi, Kinshasa, Makerere, Dar es Salaam, Southern Sudan, in Juba, Burundi, and Rwanda. And when we have a huge market cutting across a huge population, our population is about 500 million. European Commission has a population of about 800 million. We shall have a very huge market, and we can control other markets and bargain to our benefit. And in the process, we succeed on matters confederation, union. We shall create wealth. And when we create wealth, we can spread the same wealth across the East African community, federation or union, and assist even others. We shall be giving out aid to other countries, maybe South Africa, or upon a disaster, we send our army there, conflict, very strong regional bloc. Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm told there's a very, very bad issue. Please take the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, the Vice Chair, Attorney General Emeritus, and the First Senator Kusia, distinguished experts, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I have three key issues that I wish to put across as my submission. My name is Edgar Akide. The first issue is on bullet 6. What should the operation of the Confederation Authority be funded? My brother has talked of subscription fee, that is one. The other one I was proposing, if we can have East Africa Monetary Fund, because as Africans we depended so much on International Monetary Fund. What is wrong if we have our own? Is it applicable or not? And if yes, can member states also borrow money from the fund itself? That is one. Then on point 8, other issues proposed by stakeholders. One, we haven't talked about water catchment areas. We have several rivers. We have several lakes, Lake Victoria, Lake Tanganyika, Lake Nyasa, Lake Kivu, Lake Kurwa, Rukwa, Lake Edward. In the catchment areas, what types of trees are being planted along the catchment areas? Are they trees that will drain the waters, or are they trees that will make our lakes to dry up, or that will help so that the future generation will be able to use our lakes, our rivers well in other activities? And lastly, and it catches on the whole East Africa community. This is in relation to East Africa Regional Road Network. You will realize that we have several cargoes, trucks coming from Tanzania, coming from Congo, coming from Mombasa in Kenya, coming from Rwanda and Burundi, with huge tonnage. What are we doing? What should we do as a confederation to address the issue of maintenance? Maintenance, especially on the East Africa Regional Road Network, for smooth transfer and for smooth flow of goods and services. Those are my three submissions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. We appreciate coming to the end of our program. I'm told our lunch shall be served down there. Sorry? All right. All right. Sorry about that. We shall have our lunch down there at the Trapo Hotel. And before I give this mic to the deputy chair, I'll come back to that. Sorry.
Mama Mike, these have been very wonderful views we have received, but I just want some clarifications so that you know which the experts will consider before they recommend the way forward. First, let me thank my DC, who is, I think we have all noticed, is a student of the European Union and a student of integration. I thank you for that. There are very few commissioners who are students of something beyond Kenya, but I still to Kenya, not beyond. But thank you. Clarification. And maybe on this clarification, the member of the East African Legislative Assembly, maybe something you can also consider, because we may ask your views now separately. You say that the parliament in Arusha should be amended and it should not exceed the municipal parliament. Obviously, when we move towards the confederation, maybe the East African Legislative Assembly, the way it was constructed, as at that time, we are talking about 1997, and the way it's elected, and the way it does things, will not be adequate for a confederation. So I just wanted to find out from you whether you have thought on how the East African Legislative Assembly can be strengthened in terms of its work. Secondly, how it can be strengthened in terms of how the members of that assembly are appointed or elected. I would like to hear your views on that. Later on, just give it a thought to your colleagues. Yeah. And the same also applies, by the way, to the East African Court of Justice. How can that court be strengthened as we move towards the confederation? You asked the question, rights, where do they emanate? Are you by that suggesting that maybe in this treaty, this constitution of the federation, we should have a chapter on rights, human rights, in the same way that in the constitution of Kenya, we have a chapter, very elaborate chapter, by the way, on the issue of human rights. You also talked about referendum. When this whole process has gone, we have made recommendations, it has gone to the heads of state that they have approved, and maybe the national parliaments have also approved it, and maybe even the East African Legislative Assembly has also approved it. Were you there suggesting that this is an important constitution now for the member states, we should subject it to the referendum to be approved by the people? And I'm saying that because of what the member from Bungoma stated very clearly that we should learn from past mistakes. The community collapsed. And people have said part of the reason is because when the community came into being, it concerned only the head, who could you, the president signed. The people are not involved. Now, if the people are involved in a referendum, it may not be that easy to just collapse it. So are you suggesting indirectly that maybe a referendum should be held for approval by the people of East Africa as a whole? I think it's you and also Bugoma and somebody. This idea of commission, sector-specific commissions. When some people talk, it's like it's a ministry. But other people talk, it's like a commission. Now, if it's going to be a commission, how should it be composed? Taking into account maybe your experience in the European Union. I don't know, but how should it be composed? It's going to be a commission. And the commission on what subject? Could you, for example, what Edgar Akide said there, should we have a commission on infrastructure to take care of the road network or the communication network throughout East Africa? Or should we have a ministry, ministry, and so on? And what are the advantages of disadvantages? Before really made it very effort to consider to be under human rights, and so on. Another activity, the first question I want from you is, if you're going to have the East African Monetary Fund, and naturally, if you're going to have a single currency, we must have an equivalent of the Central Bank of Kenya at the East Africa level to control that currency, the East African currency. If you are going to have that Central Bank of East Africa, just saying, would it really be necessary to have the East Africa Monetary Fund, which plays the role of the IMF? Because in the IMF, we have the countries which are very rich and give it funds, which it uses to help people in financial difficulties to go through. In East Africa, we are all poor. So who will be the benefactor of that monetary fund? Those are the clarifications I wanted to hear. But thank you very much. I'm very happy with the views that have been received here. I hand over to this mic. Alisema tu yeye ni rapatua akakaa chini. Mwingine hapa alisema tu yeye ni Mtanzania akakaa chini. Huyu ni kama professor of law at the University of Dar es Salaam, which produced Amos Wako, which produced Benjamin Odoki, and many others. So he's a humble man, but as a rapporteur, he's in charge of writing all these things down. And we entrusted him to do that because he is in a rapporteur of the constitutional review process of the United Republic of Tanzania. They also had a similar system. I went there to talk to the MPs, and there he was, very busy, mingling and writing things down. So don't just take them as simple as they look. They're very, they have depth. They have depth, if I may say so.
Thank you, Honorable Wako. I want two of the contributors express an opinion on the way to control religious matters. I understand what happened recently in Kenya could be the reason for this opinion. One of them said we need to establish a commission which he calls ecumenical commission, which means interfaith, a commission that would deal or control religious organizations. Okay? And then there were others, I think 2 or more, who have also expressed opinion on the same. Now, I think I need something before I ask you clarification. Ordinarily, the confederal authority or that we are going to form is a form of governmental organization. Okay, and there is always a standard provision in many constitutions of state, which will say a state normally is secular. So the government does not involve itself in establishing religious organizations. Okay, that is clear. But also we have normally standard provisions in the constitution which about freedom of religion. People are free to believe what they think is right. Normally, it's not for the government to say, this is the right version of the Bible or Quran. This is how it is to be told. Okay? So, that is the normal practice. Now, ideas which are coming from this meeting is that we need to do something. Now, probably we need to assist us how to do it. How are we going to control a religious organization, or how are we going to control the content of what they are supposed to preach? And are we going to maybe violate the right to religious freedom? Okay, how could that freedom be limited? Maybe you want a clarification as well. Thank you.
Thank you, my colleagues. You know that the judge normally listens. His job is to give. At the end of the, after you have left, how do you give the judgment? Whether he has interrogated you or not. Now, but my colleagues here have asked questions. These are different questions. The constitutional issues, the legal issues, the political. Like, let me take the last issue you raised about restricting religious freedom. All freedoms are subject to exercise, subject to not injuring others. That is that be subject to that doctrine of justifiable in a free and democratic society. So there's no absolute right. I think in the constitution there are a few. They're all subject to limitation, but they must be acceptable in a free and democratic society. But I'm not saying that I'm giving you judgment. As a constitutional expert, I know what we have done in Uganda, and it's what, and even in Kenya, that doctrine is the limitation on human rights is limited to certain principles. So what I'm saying is that these are difficult issues for people who are not learned in some of the things. But you can attempt to, especially religion, is extremely sensitive. Human rights is a critical issue. So we just having muscle you. If you can answer that, it will be fine. If you cannot answer. Secondly, these issues are raised are very complicated. We'll have to traverse the whole East Africa to understand them and to propose solutions. So if you have answers, I'm quite happy to have them. Oh yes, I'm not, but they are very complicated. So if the director of the program says that we should allow them to answer, if they are prepared to answer those questions, I'm happy to hear them.
Thank you, Chair. There are some big individuals that have been mentioned by Honorable Thomas Wako
Somebody was there?
to create clarity of those issues. I think
If you want that far, if it doesn't
Let me clarify on religion, sir.
I think
If you want to clarify, you can clarify. If you want to have more time, I think the secretariat will give you the address where you can write within maybe 7 days.
So maybe for religion, for the human rights chapter, the enshrining in most of the constitutions of individual countries, most of them. And I beseech you to come up with the East African EAC Bill of Rights or conventions on human rights. I get it so that you leave individual chapter on human rights and lump them there as one. Then you create a commission also to oversee, to inspect, to superintend. And any injured person, that injured person will petition the commission will take the case to the court. You must create a court there. Are you getting it? And in that convention or Bill of Rights, the right to religion, the right to property, the right to freedom of assembly and association, the court will interpret and take it to the commission. And the commission will tell the government, you have violated, implement, or legislate in accordance with the decision of the Court on Human Rights. That is an exit strategy. On membership of the East African Parliament, you must create a treaty of the Senate. And the treaty will come out on issues for the election. Election must be done on a single day, electing the municipal MPs, at the same time electing membership to the East African Parliament. I think I've dealt with the human rights chapter. Clear. The East African Court of Justice is to interpret the constitution of the East Africa and other issues. And then also to create maybe judicial precedents which supersede the municipal precedents. And I prefer the EAC chain not to deal with constitutional matters. Let us start with the forest, the health, the pollution. Let us leave aside the core constitutional issues, like the presidency. You may touch on the members of parliament, but we deal with water, the oceans, the seas, the energy, first. But if you move to the center, it will be a quagmire for you. Then the ECJ also will ensure that the